So you might imagine that having this messy tangle of wires is pretty out of character for me. And the reason I've never organized these is because they changed all the time. But they actually haven't changed in a long time, so I could probably start organizing them. As a first step, I mounted the power supply on the wall so that I could have a free floor to extend my legs at any time, free of obstructions. I will not be doing that today though. Today is an Apple press conference where they announce new iPhones. As you may or may not know, I use multiple Apple products. Chief among them probably being my phone. This is a phone from 2021. I actually ordered this at the top of Mount Katahdin. I just happened to have cell signal right when the pre-orders went up. And second would be this MacBook. This computer is the best computer I've ever owned. If technology froze in place, I would be perfectly happy using this for the rest of my life to make my videos. It is fantastic. All that is to say, I love a good press conference, whether it's video games, even if I'm not buying it. I usually have some interest in just knowing what the latest technology is. Like the PlayStation 5 Pro announcement that is most likely going to be tomorrow. You know I'm excited about that. I've been reading this Final Fantasy 13 book that Brian Kitsune sent to me. Why was this story not in the game? People complain so much about that game's story because it had so many proper nouns. So it's like, how am I supposed to keep track of the Lassie, the Fal'Cie, the Pulse Fal'Cie? And then you get introduced to like 10 characters and all of their backstory happens in this book. And they barely explain any of this in the actual game. Making video games is hard, but you probably should have done a better job telling your story than what Final Fantasy 13 did. The story that's there though is actually pretty interesting. I like it. It's weird, it's got its own flavor. It's pretty good. New watch? Well, I thought I was gonna be upgrading this year, but I think I'm still happy with the 13. Still in great shape. It is fulfilling all of my needs. Some of the video improvements I would like the better ultra wide camera, but you know what? I've got very nice cameras, so I can go with that. I will be checking out the new AirPods though. These original AirPods still fit my ears better than any of the others, so we'll see what the 4s are like, but that noise cancellation would be very nice because AirPods Pro do not fit my ears. So I didn't completely waste my time watching that presentation because I had lunch, but I think it's time to stop actually watching those in real time. 2 hours is too long. 30 minutes. Give me a nice Nintendo Direct 30 minutes. 2 hours? No. All right, time for a run.
I know I said that I was gonna try to learn how to jump again. I don't care. I just can't seem to muster the desire or the reason to do it.
Okay, that'll do it for today's vlog. Thank you very much for watching. My VO2 max is holding steady at 49.2. I'll take it. It has been a very good year for video games. To start, we had Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It was so good. Loved it. Fantastic. Very recently, we had the latest full-fledged entry in the Mana series. It's been like 20 years. It has delivered. It is gorgeous. It's so much fun. I almost couldn't stop playing it, but some of you may remember my buddy Brendan from Stone Age Gamer. I went to his place and we ended up playing Resident Evil 4 for like, I don't know, 10 hours over the course of a night and a morning. And actually, come to think of it, I don't think this came out this year, but I'm playing it this year. This game is just such a classic, and it has been pretty much since the game came out that I last played the original. And man, it holds up so incredibly well. It's so much fun. What a game. And if that wasn't enough, Sony had to drop Astro Bot on me. I was gonna hold off, but I was like, I gotta get it. This is just such a delightful game. Do you remember back at the beginning of the pandemic when The Last of Us 2 came out? And it was like, who wants to play a game where it's just pure misery when the world around you is kind of miserable? What we needed then was this game. What we also needed was Animal Crossing, and we got Animal Crossing. But, you know, the thing is that a creator has a certain taste, and the enjoyer of the creator's stuff also has a certain taste, and it's beautiful when those two things align. They don't always align, or sometimes they partially align, and it's close enough that both people can still be very happy, but sometimes they're just like really far apart. But in the case of this game, it is a direct overlap between my tastes and what they have created. Speaking of the creator's vision and my own personal taste, I believe I talked about Lewis Cole the other day. I cannot stop listening to this song called A Pill in the Sea. So I've been listening to the album version, it's fantastic. But then I started digging a little deeper and I looked at the live version that he had on YouTube. And there's a specific thing that he took out in the live version that I just cannot fathom taking out because it's so good. But this guy clearly has a very specific vision and taste, and I'm sure that this was very intentional. But for me, man, I would have gone the original route. So this is the album version. Now, here is the live version, and pay attention to that brass sound. That loud brass trumpet is so magnificent. I don't understand why you would take that out. So today is a music writing day. It has actually been a little while since I've written any music, which I actually think is a really good thing because it has been long enough now that I feel recharged and I'm actually excited to do it. Writing music is so difficult that if I do it too much, it's really easy to burn myself out. But I'm actually excited about the prospect and finding out what I come up with. Okay, let's write some music. Welcome back to the vlog. Yesterday's music writing went very well. I never know if the music I write is actually good or not, so the goal that I aim for is to write music that I really enjoy. If I'm really excited about it, then there's a chance that somebody else could be excited about it. If I'm not excited about it, there's no chance that anybody could be excited about it. We will be writing more music today, but first, remember a few months ago, I bought the Panasonic G9 II. I filmed a Smokey solo video with it. I filmed 3 videos in Denver, which you haven't seen yet with Thomas. And it is a very nice camera, but it had 2 flaws that I don't know if I can forgive. One is the autofocus is just still not there. It is worlds better than the previous Panasonic cameras, but it would have problems just focusing like on the landscape. Like forget about like getting somebody's eyeball. And the second problem was it was just not good enough in low light situations. I actually like the look of Micro Four Thirds sensors, but in low light, it was just a noisy mess. And after having used full frame for so many years, I was like, eh. Anyway, the point of buying the G9 II was to have a very good stabilizer. From the viewer's perspective, I feel like the most important thing is that you can hear what the people are saying, it's in focus, and it is not shaky. This definitely did a great job not being shaky, but it wasn't in focus. Now, before I bought this G9 II, the other contender was the Sony ZV-E1. It has something called Dynamic Active Stabilization, which is supposed to be very, very good. But the camera had some other compromises that I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna go with the G9 II. However, I was able to find a very nice used price, and now we have here the Sony ZV-E1. And also a little kit lens, which I don't need, but that's cool that they sent that. Now, what's interesting about this camera is that the internals are actually identical to this camera. And this is my favorite camera I've ever used, just the stabilizer is not very good. However, it has a couple of other downgrades that are not a huge deal, but I don't super like. You know what, let's do it. Let's just put this camera on this tripod and you'll see that it looks basically the same. And this is the new camera. I know most of you are not camera nerds, so I'm not gonna get too deep into the woods, but the compromises were, my camera has 2 slots, this one only has 1. This has 2 dials, this one only has 1. This camera has a viewfinder where you can put your eye up to it and then you can block out the sun and actually see what you're looking at. This one does not. And there might be others that I'm forgetting. But the most important thing is the dynamic active stabilization. Let's go test it out. Okay, this is dynamic active stabilization with the 16 to 35 millimeter. I've not seen this in person yet, so I have no idea how steady it is. It looks quite steady. Okay, let's watch this together in real time. Man, that looks incredibly steady. Okay, so now we know the G9 II stabilizer is still king. This is pretty steady, but we're gonna have to run some more tests here. Okay, this is the 20 to 70 with dynamic active stabilization. We've got an ND filter on, which will be a big test because if it's not stable enough, the footage is gonna look a little weird. It'll be a little blurry. Let's see what it looks like when I'm walking forward. 20 millimeters is a little bit tight with the dynamic active stabilization, but let's give it a shot. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, and just in case you need a little refresher on what the Panasonic camera stabilization looked like, it's like this. And man, it is still quite a bit better. The comparisons I had seen online, it made it look like it was a little bit closer, but this is still
quite a bit better. Okay, we're now using the 14 millimeter with dynamic active stabilization. It looks quite good if you're going straight forward. As soon as you start turning, it does get a bit jerky. But if you know that, you can work around the limitations by just, when you're walking and you know you're gonna be doing a walk and talk, don't do those gradual turns, walk in straight lines. So you can say something over here, walking in a straight line, you turn, walk this way, and then you turn, walk this way again. So working within the limitations, yes. So the main reason I was holding off on the ZV-E one was actually because I thought there was gonna be a successor to this camera, but according to the rumors, that's not in the cards, so I bit the bullet. I very much look forward to putting this through its paces and filming a solo video with it. But you will see the fruits of that labor pretty soon, I'm sure. Okay, one last thing, the PlayStation 5 Pro, no, are you serious? $700, no price drop for the regular console. And even me, who loves to spend money on new electronics, does not want it. Like, I couldn't even see the difference. That's a huge problem. I don't know who this console is for, but if I don't want it, I can't imagine who it's for. Anyways, thank you very much for watching today's vlog. Hope you have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Ah, I almost had it. Dude, why do I keep missing that? Well, what was I saying?